So welcome to In the Den, where we bring together Giants Den members, black men who are defying the odds, regardless of what the statistics are saying about us. Today, our topic is education, right? So all of our guests today have impressive academic resumes, let alone professional resumes. We have Deshaun Edwards, systems engineer, teacher, you know what I mean, have a master's degree, obviously, and a wealth of just knowledge and experience. Appreciate you being here.
Hello everyone, my name is Deshaun Edwards. I am from Stone Mountain, Georgia. I currently work as a systems engineer for Northrop Grumman Corporation. I am also the Region 6 Professional Development Chair for the National Society of Black Engineers, and I'm a proud member of the Giants Den.
Absolutely, brother. We have, of course, Dr. Carol Brown, CJ, to me, Dr. Carol Brown, to everybody else, man. Mental health professional, PhD, amazing story, amazing inspiration, regardless of the academic accomplishments. Always been someone that I can count on. When you was before the BA, before the BA, I've been able to count on you. I always say, man, I was struggling financially, needed some money. Me and CJ had just met, and I needed $200 on my rent. And I asked CJ at an event or something like that down in San Diego, and he gave it to me. And I think that that's just a reflection of the type of heart that CJ has. So I appreciate you being here, Dr. Brown.
I'm Dr. Carol J. Brown III. I am a mental health specialist, a residential director at a mental health facility, and I am a proud member of the Giants Den.
Dr. Sean James, another amazing individual out of Compton, doing amazing things on a higher education level, helping a lot of students who look like us, black and brown students, and doing the work from a really genuine place as a director of EOP over at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, right in our community. Carson is not too far from where you grew up, so I think that's huge.
My name is Dr. Sean Ray James, currently the Director of the Educational Opportunity Program at Cal State Dominguez Hills from Compton, California, and a proud member of the Giants Den.
Man, I appreciate y'all being here in the Den, where we're gonna have conversations that really I hope to inspire, educate, and help our viewers with some situations they may be going through, right? And also giving a different light to the story that's been told about us, right? Because by the numbers, the story that's been told about us, we're not leading the league in the positive things, right? We're not leading the league in education. By the numbers, we are dead last in any, and I say we as black men, we're dead last in any academic achievement. But 40% of the prison population, right? So I think it's important that we share these stories to let people know that we are here, we can do it, and there's an entire community of people who want to support you and see you in those positions. So appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
Hold on, CJ. Hold on, CJ, or Dr. Carol Brown. Give me 1 second. You got kicked out of school.
Yes, I got kicked out.
Was sleeping in your car.
Yes.
Came back, graduated with a 2.1.
Yes.
You can't even play football right now if you was on the team. But you were able to get into a doctoral program. Tell us more, bro.
So here's the thing. So the doctoral program was a doctorate in organizational psychology, right? Organizational management with an emphasis in psychology. So my experience in working at the boys' home gave me the background behind psychology. Mind you, the BA that I had was in psychology too. Then all my work at this time was now over 10 plus years in the fraternity, right? And so now up to all that time in leadership development, mind you, in the frat, I was president of this, I was involved in that, I built relationships with this.
Community service, I imagine.
Community service events. I built relationships with men, Midnight Mission, Boys and Girls Clubs, right? Doing tons of programs. So that was my leadership, right? And creating, and then because the organization gave me tons of leadership opportunity, I was able to take that and how I can apply it into this program and say, this is why I deserve to be in this program. Because of my background, my educational background in school with the BA and my work at the boys' home and my leadership abilities that I've learned through the organization that it helped provide me with. So I was able to get that pitch, and then they were like, you know what, we're gonna take a chance on you, right? But you have to demonstrate that you can maintain the course load for your first year. So you can't get anything below a 3.5.
Wow. Yep.
Right?
From a 2.1, now you got to keep up a 2.5.
In a doctorate program.
Right.
Mind you, I didn't, and the writing was intense, anyone in a doctorate program will tell you, tons of writing. I did not know how to write like that. In fact, I graduated my BA program with charm, right? Like I was very charismatic. I would go into places, talk to people. I could write here and there, but not like write. So I had to like start over and re-educate myself. There was times where I would go home and watch Schoolhouse Rock on what's a noun, what's a verb, right? And then I would meet every week with our writing director and give me worksheets, right? Okay, let's practice my writing in this. Let's practice that. How do we break down an article, right? Let's go through that. So I would go to class, go to work, and then at the end of the week, I would go to workshops on how to write, right? And so then after my first year, I had a 4.0, right? I hit the ground hard, running hard, got a 4.0. And so then I got a letter saying, welcome, you're finally an official student, right? Not under conditional status. We welcome you as an official student.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I ended up graduating top of the class, right? And then I was asked to be the keynote speaker of our graduation. And so I got back in, and so in 2018, when I graduated my doctorate, 2019, I was invited back to CSUN to be the keynote for a graduation speaking, and so that was the closing of the loop for me. I got in 2005, got kicked out in 2009. 2019, I'm invited back to speak to over 5,000 people at the graduation ceremony.
Hey, can we give a salute, man? Hey, let's give a huge salute, man. I think that story, bro, I'm over here like really feeling your story. And I've been knowing you for years now. And the magic of your story is so inspiring, bro. Let's give a huge salute to Dr. Carol Brown. 1, 2, 3, salute. Oftentimes we have a stigma associated with education and its need to move forward professionally. I'm an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur. I don't necessarily, a degree isn't required to do what it is that I'm after. But what you pick up, the intangibles that you pick up with an education or some of the relationships or the mindset or the confidence that comes with having an education can bleed over into all these different areas of your life that I think people kind of overlook. I would love to hear Dr. Sean James, you know what I mean, talking about, you know, what was your college journey like? How did you get into school, and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, all we had, my mom just, you better do something. You know, my grandparents, you know, straight to it as well. And then I played football, so I thought, all right, I could go probably get a scholarship, I could be a receiver. So I did kind of start to think maybe I'll get to college playing football, right? But then this program, I got a letter. That year I started getting 9 letters from SC and 9 letters from everybody. In Northridge, hit me back, hey, we received your application. Technically don't meet the admissions requirements, but we want to invite you for an interview to see if you got a chance. So man, tell my moms, luckily, I think my mom and my grandmother take me out there. I want to say it was my mom. Yeah, my mom finally had the opportunity to take me out there. Went to the interview, asking questions about why you want to go to college. This lady named Gina Gonzalez, I still remember her and have a relationship with her to this day. And she was so serious and stern with me. And I remember walking out that interview. Good. So I'm probably gonna go to Southwest, maybe Elko, or let me try to get away from the hood and probably go to Cerritos or something. Right. Because Cerritos was the only school that actually reached out to me for football. And said, the coach came to one of my games, said I probably had an opportunity to go to Cerritos. And a lot of people from my school was going to Cerritos. So I want to go do that, just get it. One of my boys is going to Marines, and he was trying to get me to do that. I was thinking about it, so I was teeter-tottering, I don't know, And what happened was, letter came through. Sean, congratulations. The conditioning admitted to Cal State Northridge. Through the EOP program. You gotta make this come through. So on a conditional basis, because my GPA I was missing classes. I was so struggling so bad, man. I told my counselor, I'm not taking algebra 2. You need that 4 years of math. I can't do it. I was freaked out. I said, I'm gonna get into college. I'm gonna figure it out. So I had to go to Summer Bridge. It's a program in the summer. You had to, complete a contract, try to maintain a GPA. So, long story short, I made it. So I get out there, man. First time ever going over the 405, that hill to the valley. And after I made it through that summer, I did well in the program. That first semester, I did okay. And then, big party school at that time. Early 2000s. Every weekend, it was crazy. And so I started to get involved in social life, thinking I'm grown. So I became more, I feel like I caught myself with some type of I hustled school. I'm gonna just say it like that. I figured out.
But it is a hustle.
It is. And I was learning, but I figured out how to just get by. And I feel like we'll talk about today. I'm paying for it a little bit right now, but I'll get to that. But anyway, I want to get to your point. Man, 3.0 the whole time, and why people perform well. I'm gonna be honest. My transcript for the first, probably until I started to see in 2005, for the first 3 years, I'm on academic probation. So my transcript for 3 years says academic probation. All right.
And I say it's crazy because when I got there, and he was like the face of ELP. Everyone knew who he was. Like, oh, that's what's his name? That shot, he's cool. Like, and I was like, man, this dude's cool. Like, real cool. Like, he was just the fake. Don't know the story. So it's like it's crazy. Like you was struggling too.
That's why the point that we have these conversations and we give it to the people because so many times you think you may be the only one experiencing some things. And we don't talk about it, we just walk by each other and go to a party together like, oh man, Sean got it figured out, CJ got it figured out. And we are really talking and get past the surface level, we say, damn, maybe we can support each other through this, right? And if it worked out, but again, that's why we have these conversations and bringing it up.
That's important. So I was struggling. And so what happened, what I think changed though, right? What I really started to try to get myself together, but it still was going through challenges was 2004. So this is probably right before you came in and when I started to kind of figure out myself and what I could be and inspiring people. A counselor called me. At this time, I was 03, 04, I was teeter-totter. I was party dude, whatever, trying to be a player, whatever. The music was, we not knowing what we grew up on, all of that stuff. Then trying to be tough and whatever, but still trying to have this other positive side of me. Because you're from Compton. Right,
That's something. And it's a pressure internally. I'm from Compton, I can't let go of
Right.
You're in North Korea right now.
And it's funny, somebody said that to me. I remember this brother who said it, man. This guy named Ahmad. One time I was tripping over something. It was from some LA stuff, but he was from LA. But at the time, he had transitioned to fraternity too as well. So he got let go of this. And I remember something happened in LA, and I found out about it. And he happened to be out in the dorms, and I ran into him in the parking lot. I'm like, yeah, I heard people did this, and y'all still tripping on this. And I'm tripping on this dude in the dorms in college over some stuff back down here in LA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, brother, Obama happened to be here that day. And he said, you still on all that, man? Come on, man, we in college now, man. I ain't waiting for none of that. Like, what you doing, son? Come on. And I looked at him, he said, you right. All right, brother. And from that day, we was cool. Every time we shit, I wasn't really close to him like that, but we was cool every time we see each other. I love, but that started to check me. And then, because at that time, I was to just give up on school and try to work and figure something else out. And then the counselor called me, and I was still on probation. The counselor called me and said, hey, Sean, this lady named Shantae Brown, she called me and she said, we think you can be a mentor. Why didn't you apply for our mentoring job this summer? I'm like, what? Mind you, at that time, like I said, I can probation parties all the time, never went to the UP office, never paid my respects to them.
But the lady who called you, did you know her already?
Yes, because she was my mentor when I came in.
Was she a black woman?
Yes, black woman. Yes.
I just want to point out, how that support came, but how that discouragement came, and it does matter that we are in positions, in positions to support and encourage younger folks, because she probably didn't even think much of it, but that's somebody who changed the course of your journey. Fast forward with your story. How do you feel like, are you able to do that for somebody else? You know what I mean? In your current position, you didn't get to mention, I know you got denied by USC. I know that EOP was a huge part of your journey academically, and you now have a position that I would imagine is influential. Do you find yourself kind of like thinking about those experiences?
Oh man. Okay, yeah. So fast forward, when I got the opportunity as a mentor in the call, I got a phone call again from the same program. Hey, we have an opportunity. We want to keep you around. So they would let me still work my full-time job, and I would just come to the summer programs to be a mentor and be around, to be and just wanted my presence there for them to see, And I was like, we have a whole team of people. Why? But it was still something that was provided. That's why I like power to connect with people, right? Power to influence people. So I've been started working with them as a recruiter in high school, going out to the high schools in LA and recruit for EOP. But my task was to recruit those students who people wasn't talking to in high school, people who didn't have high GPAs. So I was going to get students with 2.5 and below. So those years students weren't going to college. So I started off, I wanted to go to all the schools where I knew they weren't deep research. So communities everywhere where I knew people need to hear my story, that's where I was going. So I wasn't going just telling the normal college, hey, go to college, and use SAT.
Like you said, everybody showed up in your classroom and gave a presentation and trying to talk to y'all about this. You were going to where you probably thought this is also not happening here.
Yeah.
And as someone who worked at Gompers Middle School across the lot for like 4 years, I can tell you that it wasn't happening.
Right,
So,
right.
hey, with the Rolex chain, that's also bringing like a connection. Hey, you know what I mean? Culturally, we respect the Rolex chain. Right. You like, oh, you know, man, you look too close, you look too familiar.
Yeah.
You look too familiar to be in college.
Right.
Right? If you look like somebody from around here, that's somebody from around here.
So I went, got the master's, finished that in 2011. And
Did you go to see some of your master's?
See some of my master's. I was working there and took advantage of the opportunity, you know, working there to help me pay for it. And within that, finished the master's degree. Somebody said you should do a doctorate.
And this somebody is killing it.
It was something I still had to finish that night. So I submitted it the last day of the deadline, midnight by the deadline. Not thinking I'm going to get in. Mind you, my GPA wasn't that 3.0 and 3.5 that you needed. I didn't have a good GRE score because you had to take this exam to get in there. And then I'm nervous because you got to send your transcripts. I'm like, they want to see
3 years of probation. Right.
They're going to see the 2 years that I did, kind of got it together when I started to see you in 05 since I had to graduate, you know, to get the bachelor's. But then my master's, I think I started to do well. My master's, I made sure I had a 3.0 the whole time.
Yeah.
So all got
Not really knowing, you know, what EOP kind of really supported you through that, got you into CSUN, had some people around you who were supporting you, got the master's from CSUN, people around you supporting you, got you, the school that denied you, USC, you now just got accepted into their doctoral program. That's huge. Let's talk about EOP real quick, man, because now you are the director of EOP at Cal State Dominguez. I had to, because I didn't know this. I knew that you were the director of EOP. Right, remember the Giants Den, we all go through interviews, we talk to each other and stuff like that, but that's just the surface. Now understanding how important EOP has been to your journey. So it adds that much more respect and just like, it's that much more special. Now knowing that, you know, you have a connection to this program that's not just a job. And you're the director. Now I took a look at the staff, you have a staff, and you're at a university. You're not just at any old place, you know, you're at a university, young black man. And a director position in higher education. I think that is amazing. And if we were to look at the numbers, you probably wouldn't see young black men as the director of any department on the collegiate level. So huge salute to that, man. Let's give a huge salute to Dr. Sean James, man. 1, 2, 3. Salute. Teaching background.
Yeah.
So systems engineer.
Correct.
But before that, you have a passion for youth, bro.
I do.
And it's crazy because I think if given the opportunity to talk about something, we usually end up talking more about your work with the youth than your work as an engineer.
Right.
Talk about like your history working with the youth, you know what I mean, and then how you're still able to do that in your current position.
For sure. All right. So yeah, like after I got my bachelor's from Savannah State, I didn't do the things that I needed to do to set myself up for that career move. You know what I mean? I graduated and I was working at Whole Foods Market. And then I'm sitting here like I have a bachelor's degree in engineering working at a grocery store. And it was like that for time. Like I applied for jobs. It was like, nah. I went into interviews. They was like, nah, because I had the piece of paper, but I didn't have that experience.
Right.
It was almost like that catch-22. Like, how am I going to
chicken or the egg, man?
Until you give me experience.
Yeah.
So, eventually, I was like, okay, let me get out of Savannah. Let me go back home. And then I moved back to Stone Mountain to my mom's place. And a good friend of mine, Cornell, like that is my boy to this day. He called me and was like, yo, Deshaun, they got these substitute teaching jobs. What you think? I was like, okay, cool. I'm working at a grocery store. Let me go ahead and go into education. Right. And at the same time, I was like, I also need to do something else because I am not going to just let this 5-year bachelor degree go down the drain.
Yeah.
So I started looking into master's programs. Took the GRE. That test is.
I fell asleep in it.
That test is not.
I fell asleep.
That test is not friendly, man.
It's not.
So GRE scores wasn't that good. Still working, you know what I'm saying, at a grocery store, but then I started working as a substitute teacher. And again, this goes back to those people just seeing what you're doing and kind of being that support. So while I'm working as a substitute teacher, I just got a call from one of my colleagues asking, hey, Deshaun, I see you working as a substitute teacher. We have this position at our job as an interrelated teacher, right? Or it wasn't interrelated. It was the like a teacher's assistant, basically.
Okay.
I can't think of the exact term. So then I was like, okay, instead of me working as a substitute teacher and working at Whole Foods, I can just start working at this school.
You at GameStop, Whole Foods,
That's really
then substitute teacher. Yeah.
It goes from me working at GameStop to me having my own classroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now people call me Mr. Edwards, and I'm still, of course, going to grad school. That's like my man said, like school is not difficult. It's just when you're getting your bachelor's, you have so many distractions and so many other things that's in your way that make you not want to focus on school, make you not want to study. Because I finished my master's program with a 4.0. Like, A straight through, you feel me? Like, these classes, they were definitely difficult. I probably wouldn't have got that 4.0 if it wasn't for the help of my colleagues. But yeah, it was just like, if you focus, you could do it. You know what I mean? So, and then also while I was at Mary McLeod Bethune, I started doing like the STEM education. They had a robotics team that was at Mary McLeod Bethune, and I got drafted to be the robotics coach. So then, this is when I really started getting into my passion for education. Because seeing these kids rewind. Mary McLeod Bethune is up the street from where I grew up. So this is me going back home, me giving back to DeKalb County.
Right in your community.
Basically, the street. Yeah, it's in my community, you know what I mean? So then with that, we won trophies and stuff like that. Education has always been something that I wanted to do. And then, of course, there's the piece of NSBE that I'm a part of, the National Society of Black Engineers. And that
what's your role there?
Right. So that came into play when I was in my last year of getting my master's degree. I went to a NSBE conference, and that's pretty much where I ended up getting the job I have now. Like, that's what gave me the opportunity. So then taking that piece, graduating with a 4.0, getting a job at Northrop, moving out here to LA.
And you moved out here for your job.
I moved out here before my job,
right?
But then when I moved out here, I couldn't let go of that education STEM piece. So I immediately started working with the NSBE Junior chapter in Inglewood out here. And then rocking with them. I've been rocking with them for like 3 years. We done went to Las Vegas and then won trophies there, because it's still like, kids don't always get to see that part of it, you know? Kids don't always get to see the science and technology of just being able to use that to, you know, go do whatever career you want to do. So, like me working with the youth is something that I'm still passionate about to this day. And I'm going to continue to be passionate about. To increase the number of culturally responsible black engineers, right? So pretty much with NSBE, it's like lifting as we climb, where it's a pipeline. Like, we go from NSBE Junior to collegiate NSBE all the way to professional. That's what we do now. And right now, I'm actually the Region 6 Professional Development Chair. So with that, I'm trying to teach professionals how to best pivot their careers, but at the same time, I'm still going to be part of the NSBE Junior chapter. That's not going to go anywhere for me.
You don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 29.
29.
Yeah.
Bro, huge salute, man. You already know I could go in on and on, man. Like, I admire you so much, bro. Since the first day we met, and this is true for all of y'all.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear about this, you don't see it, or you just don't know how hard people are working or how many pieces had to connect for them to be where they are. And that's why when you look at somebody and say, oh, I wish I was this, or I wish I was that, you know no one's story. You know no one's story, but everything matters. Even the hardship. Now it's a part of our testimony when you think about some of the most challenging things that you went through and how powerful they are now when you share them. You know, and you're able to really tap in with an organization that does that on the regular, and especially in STEM. Right, science, technology, engineering, and math, and they have STEAM now too, right? So you can throw art in there. I don't know if it's the beef with STEM and STEAM, but I know it's the art to there, right? And our kids, black kids specifically, we have to have a better representation in those fields. And doing the type of work that you're doing is huge, bro. So huge salute to you. The work that you do as an engineer, but really what you do for the community of not only kids, there's parents and those communities that those kids will go out and impact. So huge salute to you, brother. 1, 2, 3. Salute. How do you think education has benefited you after graduation, right? So you will hear they're going to take some money. You know what I mean? A lot of people end up in a lot of debt. I think about 74% of African Americans are on some type of financial aid, right? And on the master's level, I don't even think they're offering financial aid, you know what I mean, for the most part. So people opt into not going to school oftentimes because of the financial, like, what if I don't get a job that helps me to repay this? You know what I mean? Do you feel like having that education, having those accolades have supported you professionally, and if so, how?
I think so. I think, first I like to say, hey, that was awesome. Like, because I did NSBE too. Like, in my years, I was trying to figure out myself. I was 4 years undecided, so I looked into engineering. And to hear someone come from a different state into Inglewood and then help give back to a community that that's not your community, right? Like, you're not from here. Like, you're like, hey, but I have a heart to give to these kids, right? I think that's beautiful. And to me, the glory, and this goes into your question about finances and education, to me, the glory is in the story, right? And so it's not, I thought about it and I said, well, shit, I'm already in debt for undergrad because I was doing tons of stuff, like, I gave a little bit of my story, but a lot of my story, I should have been kicked out way before.
Right.
In high school, I was cheating. I cheated sometimes, and I thought I could get away with certain stuff, and I got caught in undergrad, and I found out, like, oh yeah, you get kicked out of school for cheating, and banned from colleges for cheating. Like, I had to put on the waterworks to kids stay in, but I had people give back and reinvest into me because they believed in me, right? Several African American professors at Northridge, actually the whole department, the PAS department. And so when I saw that, and I knew of their stories, right? Several professors who grew up in Compton, grew up in Watts, grew up in, who were part of, political activism, right? Civil rights movements and things like that. To me, it was more, I couldn't afford not to continue my education, right? A lot of people, I can't afford to continue. To me, it was, I can't afford not to because of the impact I can have on others, right? I looked at it, it was bigger than me. I figured when you find and get involved in something, the rest will work its way out. And God has done that for me to where I had to sacrifice, but I continue. But it's creating more of a space to help create those new doctors coming up, those new educators, those new people, engineers and things like that, because they see people like us with our backgrounds and things, and like, I can do that too. And then it opens up so many doors into organizations where you get to network and meet more like-minded people that open up opportunities for you, to where then those finances then continue to rain on. And so to me, it's like, hey, why not sacrifice early, right? I just turned, 6 months ago, I turned 33, right? I got my doctorate at the age of 30, right? And so my whole life had been into school, and so it was like, well, I'm already invested this amount of time and effort and money. I might as well keep going to get that reward, right? Like I said, the glory's in the story. And so I figured I could either go through it or grow through it, right? And so I was like, let me just grow through some of these obstacles, the finances and things like that. And because I was the first generation to go to college, I knew nothing about finances. I'm still learning to this day. Right. Like, I took out loans and was throwing it at parties, right? I was going to clubs. Like, I even had, and I'll admit this, and since we're in the Giants, then I'll keep it 100. In my beginning years of undergrad, when I started getting those loans, right, those financial aid, I was blowing it at the strip club.
Yeah.
I never went to.
If you don't know what to do with it, like you said, $3,000 check first time.
Yeah, and so I was at the strip club, and I had never been, and I had grew an addiction to the strip club. Like, there was a time period if I had a gap in my day, I was at the strip club. right? And so I was taking, I meet homeboys. Hey, let's go to the strip club.
Got your financial aid? Let's roll, bro.
Hey,
Yeah.
you ain't got it? I got you. Don't trip.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so like, people
The
knew,
strippers like, you know, financial aid dropping soon.
yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
my mindset, I was like, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Cheers theme song, that was funny. Yeah, yeah.
and so I was out there, right? I was just sitting there having fun. Like, I was like, I can go to a regular club. I can go to a strip club, right? So I'm in the strip club in the daytime.
And this is money that you're supposed to be using for school.
For school, right? And so in the daytime, I would go at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Normal nighttime, you see regular working Joe people. In the daytime, I was seeing businessmen in suits coming in there. I heard that some women told me that there is a whole different caliber of men that come in the daytime with professional careers. And I was just exposed to a whole different world in the daytime and at night. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm really loving this now. Like, and then I was like, oh, I'm traveling, going to strip clubs. So I really had to buckle down in that transformation period where I was like, hey, let me figure out who it is. Let me get my life together. I realized, like, hey, we going to the strip club way too much, right? And
Paying some bills out here,
yeah. And so I was like, okay, we invested into this other stuff. Let's invest into us, right? Let's invest into our education. Let's invest into our future, right? And so to me, it was like, hey, you afforded to do all this other shit. Let's afford to do something for yourself, and worry about the finances later. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
And what do you do now professionally?
So professionally, I worked with juvenile delinquents in 2006 when I started at Boys Home Rancho San Antonio, and a lot of people started working there. They had provided me with a place to stay. And so I was like, oh, I get a place and a job? Nah, I'm in there, right? And they feeding us? I was like, oh, I can just come and go? I'm in here. So I worked there for about till 2000, from 2007 I got in until I left in 2019.
Wow.
Right? So I grew up there just like some of the young men. And to me, it helped change my dynamics where I was working with kids from my communities, right? I grew up off of Crenshaw, Manchester.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I was like, hey, yo, there's a lot of shit going on over here, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing kids from my neighborhood who gangbang. I didn't gangbang, but I knew people. And gangbangers, little kids who were drug addicts and things like that. And so after working in that field, and I saw the dynamics of the judicial system for young adults, right? And so I did not like it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, how can I give back to my community? I need to continue moving forward. And so then I saw an opportunity where I work now at a mental health facility called Optimum Performance Institute, where I'm a residential director at a young adults treatment facility.
Another director. This is a mental health facility.
It's a mental health facility. And so I work there to where I'm able to continue still learning and to bring back some of that education for mental health into our communities, right? And so providing mental health opportunities for Black men is kind of my biggest focus, young Black men, because there's so many dynamics that they go through. There's so much trauma that goes on in the Black community, and how can we help work together to mend that and even address it? Because it's one of those, it's like the elephant in the room, right? We don't want to talk about the post-traumatic trauma that we've all been through, right? Like some people don't even address the trauma of losing Trump, right, as president. And so people are like, when I mention that, they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, for those who liked him, they lost somebody, and those who did not like him, they haven't spoke about the trauma of what happened while he was in the office, right? And so then it's like, hey, we got a new president, everything is good. No, we still have 4 years worth of trauma that we all went through.
Because we like normalize trauma in our community.
We've normalized
it,
right? And so my goal is how we can go back into those communities and help address it and create that space of mental health that our parents never talked about, right? Therapy wasn't something that they went and did, because it was always, oh, pray on it. Right?
Yeah, pray on it.
Hey, you better pray on it. Like, I'm going through something. Pray on it.
I mean, they're just now kind of making therapy a more affordable, more aware. The awareness, obviously, around therapy is coming up, but it hasn't been affordable. You know what I mean? So even if I wanted to go to therapy before I seen the bill for it, I was like, well, I can't afford therapy right now. I know now they have resources where they can connect you at a low cost or sometimes even free.
Absolutely.
You know, or like maybe your certain insurances may cover therapy session, but that wasn't always information that was available, or those resources just wasn't available as well.
Even the stigma of that, just thinking, oh, you're a therapy crazy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Or you weak. Or you
mental
weak.
health just in general was something that was like not pushed. You know what I mean? Being able to talk about things, unpack things, and just kind of be vulnerable.
Right.
You know, that, like you said, it shows weakness.
Yeah.
Man. So a lot of times that just never happens.
And it's still, I feel like even though we're more aware of it, it's still tough.
It is.
Like for somebody, you mentioned in high school, one of your friends got killed. If you were at Columbine, you'll still be getting counseling today.
Right.
You know, and that's something that, but if you come and you talk to a group of people, like for me, this morning, my little cousin, she comes over from time to time. Her dad is my actual cousin. He just got murdered 2 years ago. Grew up with him, best friend in the whole wide world, closest cousin in the whole world, right? And he's gone. I have to keep moving like normal, right? I felt like when I come into these spaces, I'm just assuming that y'all all experienced loss to murder or gun violence. So why would I go ahead and share it with y'all? I don't want to reopen y'all's wounds, or I don't want it to seem like I'm complaining, like, oh man, everybody got somebody to die. Keep it moving. And that's some of the thinking, I think, that keeps people from sharing, especially black men, opening up, because we've normalized a lot of the traumas. But y'all are all masters, engineers, PhDs, director of EOP, director of the mental health facilities, and I'm pretty sure all the problems aren't just fixed, right? Pretty sure you still experience imposter syndrome, right? Pretty sure you experience some type of like discrimination or racism in different forms. You know what I mean? You still deal with the bullshit, even though you have those degrees, but you dealt with a lot to get here. And a lot of that can be discouraging for folks. You know, man, I'm not trying to go and get a, man, I gotta be in school for how long? You know what I mean? To get a PhD or whatnot. What advice would y'all have from your own experiences that you would share with a 20-year-old who's trying to figure out their educational journey? If it's for them, maybe they're struggling and they think they need to have a 4.0 to transfer, you know, or maybe they haven't really tapped into their passions and allowed their passions to guide them to the place they need to be. What advice would y'all give to them? Sorry, what you, Deshaun?
I'll start with that. I would say first, just you need to believe that you can do something, whatever it is, right? But understanding that, you know, the stigma is for a low income that, oh, you need to go to college, you know, get a good career so you can pay and make money finally, right? But I don't sell that dream. Because college is not going to always give you the money that you need, the career that you want. You know, they're engineers and some things, yeah, they pay off, right? But it's not going to give you that. So what I try to talk to people about is, what it can give you though is options. That you can have different options. Because no matter what, I cannot go to school, but sometimes the degree can open up another door, or just having that, you can get a certain type of respect level.
Right.
So just realizing the options, or if not, even if you don't go, it puts you in a certain mental state. You just learn how to think differently, right? You be exposed to open up your mindset, exposed to diversity. Where I wasn't exposed to that in college. I didn't understand how to work with people and get to know people and understand culture, right? So you learn more about yourself, which you find yourself there, right? And even if you don't finish it, even like one of my brothers, he went 1 year, dropped out the next year, unfortunately, right? But what it did for him is helped him to think differently and know that he could do that. Just him having that access now. He's a supervisor somewhere now at UPS. He's doing good in his life. But him having just that small exposure to college, he thinks differently. He knows how to critically think. He knows that I need to do research on my own.
Right.
He knows, you know, not to just listen to everything. So it's just a certain sense of agency, a certain sense of capital, the network that it exposes you to.
Network,
so
yep.
If you drop out, he's still able to call somebody that may be doing something that can help him with, right? So I just think it's a certain level of exposure that it gives you in life that can give you those options. And then just to address the piece about the financial aspect, if you do it the right way, you don't have to always come out of debt. Almost like CJ.
Yeah.
Did a lot of the wrong things with the loans, right?
Yeah, strip club with CJ, huh?
I was there.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't going all the time, but what I'm saying is I was doing other things. So I was about to spend money going clubbing,
Right.
buying bottles or whatever it was, or just clothes, because when I was growing up, I wasn't able to have all the clothes and shoes that I wanted, right? So I was using a financial aid check to make sure I had every Jordan and every shoe that I wanted, right? So there's ways to pay for college without going into debt. You don't always have to do that. So it's the responsible way to do it, you know? And why not? If they're going to give it to you for free, why not? Try it out, if that's what you want to do.
And getting that job on campus, one that helps to pay for the education, is a good way to get that paid for as well. Yeah.
So it's really about the navigation pieces of it, you know, and the social capital that it gives you too. And that's what a lot of privileged families do. They're not always the smartest or the best, but they know how to just, well, I'm gonna tell you what you want to do this. You go to this, go talk to this person.
Exactly.
They just teach them the plan,
Yeah.
and then they figure it out. And then, be a part of this brotherhood at USC because guess what? Such and such dad is an owner of this company. Everybody's getting a job when we graduate.
Yeah.
We don't know that, you know. So it's just, you know, it exposes you to different things that I would say. I'll stop there.
Oh, it's cool. I was saying that's why we had a den, bro.
Yeah.
I wasn't part of a fraternity. I wasn't. I had really great friends coming up, and they're still my best friends to this day. But I understood the power of networking and the power the resource I had alone. I'm like, coupled with your resources, we can have a space where we can say, hey, go over there at Dominguez and talk to Dr. James. Tell him that you related to Devontae Green. That's gonna carry some weight now because we're in the den. So I think that what we're doing is having a direct impact on our legacy and how we're able to offer opportunities for the younger generation as well.
And I think to tap in to answer your question, what would I say to a younger generation about going to school? School is a hustle, right? It's a struggle. It's not easy. It's not, like you said, it's not for everybody. School is definitely not for everybody, right? But to me, you just have to pick a struggle, right? 'Cause you're gonna have struggles, right? And you just need to determine which struggles are gonna benefit you the most, right? So pick a struggle, right? You can either go to school, because if you're a real hustler, then like what I used to tell kids at the boys' home who are in probation, who sold drugs and stuff like that, like, dude, this is finances, this is strategy, right? This is strategic planning. Like, hey, this is what I need to do. Like, I would teach gangsters how to play chess by utilizing their hoods, right? Like, yo, this is your hood, these are your little homies, right? And so if you know strategy and you can go into college and create one and hustle the hustle, right? Because it is a hustle. And so, and sometimes it's not even, like, you don't even need to graduate, right? You can just, as long as you experience, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? You're networking, exposing yourself to a whole different lifestyle, a community of people that you've never had in your own community, right? And so once you do that, your net worth is determined by your network, right? And so going in there and learning, meeting people, you start to advance yourself mentally, physically, spiritually sometimes. And so you have that opportunity to change your own dynamics, right? Somebody's trying to show off. So change your own dynamics and your opportunity that you have for yourself. And so it's a struggle. Pick one. So,
whatever you do is going to be a struggle. Pick one.
Backgrounds. You have education. You have mental health.
Right.
And you have STEM, engineering. Right. You have different programs or different opportunities that's not exposed to us.
Ooh, education, mental health, STEM, engineering, like, this is huge. And that's why we have the show, right? That's why we have these conversations in the den. This is the Giants Den. It's been created for men like yourself to come and not have to be Superman, but to come get support. Right. Come and talk about the realities of what it's like to be a director now that you work through all of that, and with people who can relate and understand and maybe give some perspective to help you go through your days, right? And we all add that, but the viewers, they wouldn't be privy to that if we didn't have these conversations. And that's the importance of it, is not keeping it in our just secret group that we have, right? Even though the Giants Den is not a secret, you can check us out at thegiantsden.org, right? But just really bringing these conversations up so people could benefit from that information as well.
Exactly.
Deshaun, what advice would you give, man?
Not to repeat anything that anyone else said, I would just say that going to college, getting that formal education, it gives you structure. You know what I mean? It helps you learn things like, okay, I got to get up because I have class at 8, and then that class is going from 8 to this time, and after that I need to go to lunch. Like it helps you with planning, you know, with things. With high school, you're there all day, you leave, and that you do whatever you want. But it's almost your first introduction to starting to, okay, I need to start marking my calendar because this event is coming up, or this class is coming up, and then at the same time, you're choosing. You choose the classes you want to go to, what times you want to wake up. So, Yeah, I mean, these two guys, they pretty much tapped into it pretty deep.
I think that's important. So I have an 11-year-old daughter,
Yeah.
right? And when I talk to her about school, she may be thinking about school as she has experienced it. College is more independence and it teaches you responsibility.
Exactly.
And I think that's what I get from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is like understanding that it's not about to be K through 12.
No.
You know what I mean? Like nobody cares if you go to class or not, but you have to care. So that means you have to be responsible,
Yes.
right? And I think that's a huge thing to be
It is,
learned.
It is, yeah. So it teaches that responsibility piece of just life that everyone needs to have, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I like his pieces because he went to a historical black college, right? And if you hear our stories, right, he went to, and if you look at historical black colleges, there's the whole school is geared towards motivating and pushing you forward, right? And helping you get there, creating that structure and that discipline, right, that he spoke about. For me, I had to seek it, right? Because I went to Northridge as well. I had to seek that to help give me that structure and that support that I needed to help move forward. Same for my man. You know what I mean? Got shy. So he also had to seek that, right, from his own peer group and people that he knew to help give him that structure and that support and that to discipline to get to where he's at. And so I love his piece about, you know, that structure because a lot of that came from, you know, the environment that you're at. Because it's like some of the movies are true. Like I went to visit some historical black colleges. They really are all there like getting in your ass, like and like helping you. And so when I finally found that group, that department of like-minded black people who had struggles, they were like, "Yo, we gonna get you across the stage if we have to drag your ass."
Yeah,
down."
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I remember, I had one professor. He pulled a knife out, and he was just, and mind you, he pulled a knife out, and it wasn't like to threaten me, but to show how life is cutthroat, right? He was talking about a book, and he was like, you know, in his book that he wrote, and he was like, what would you do if someone did boom? And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
And mind you, I was like, yo, should this nigga be here? And so
Help!
right? But mind you, his story was so vast, and so I have a good relationship with him to this day because he was like, yo, life is serious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This shit ain't no game. And I'm like, oh, okay, I believe you. And
Yep.
so that's because people saw something and invested in it. You go to his institution, they all do it. So I think it's crazy the dynamics you see from different sides. You know?
Yeah. One piece I wanted to add is, again, my personal experience. I played football. It was like you get a degree. I mean, you get a scholarship, or that's the way you go to school, football scholarship. So that didn't necessarily wasn't my route, but I never educated myself, or my family wasn't aware enough to educate me on how to apply as a regular enrollment, right? And I remember seeing the UCLA's, being a football player. I was pretty good. You know, everybody was talking about, like, you're going to go to the NFL and all these things. So I'm looking at D1 schools. I'm looking at the Notre Dames, USC's, the UCLA, these big schools that have really high criteria to actually get admitted. So I was discouraged, right? I had a low GPA because I moved around so much, right? I moved around every year up until I was like 19 years old. So I went to 4 different high schools. I went to like 3 different middle schools. So it was hard to kind of get some like a financial track record that really showed how smart I was, right? And that may have been because when I got home, I didn't have a study area, or that wasn't the focus for my parents, right? But I say that to say that I didn't know about the Cal States. I didn't know about the HBCUs who will be more willing to work with me, right? I figured if I couldn't get into these big time universities, that college just wasn't for me. And I wanted to point that out for anybody who's listening, parents, young folks who are like in school, whether it be high school, college, or trying to go back. There are different universities. They don't all have the same criteria. Some of them are willing, they want you there. They want to work with you. And if I'm happy how my life turned out, right? But at the same time, if I would have been more aware of the HBCUs that wanted me there, the Cal States that wanted me there, it could have been a different journey for me academically. And I think that's highlighted here because not only did y'all go to school, y'all finished. There's a lot of us who do go, and those graduation rates don't reflect how many of us that actually entered those institutions. So, yeah, man, I appreciate y'all being in the den. You know, this is just one of many conversations that's so important to our culture, to our people, and for ourselves. And I think it's important for you to share your own story. You know, sometimes you feel like you got to be a celebrity, or you need to, in order to get invited to have a conversation about your accomplishments. But y'all are heroes. Y'all are giants. Right? Y'all are giants because in a society that hasn't been set up for you to succeed, where they told you that code switching is mandatory for you to be accepted into spaces, you still come with imposter syndrome and all, right? Maybe not feeling like everyone in this space can relate to you, being the only black person where you work, or the youngest person where you work, right? And feeling this intimate, you still show up chest high, and you're still moving forward, and that's what makes you a giant. And we encourage everybody to fight those battles of feeling less than, right? And understand that everybody's story isn't just a straight shot, but it's this, and sometimes it's this, right? And we're still in our journeys, but I appreciate y'all opening up and sharing so much. Hopefully our viewers are able to, take something from it, share this information, share the video, and yeah, man, let's end it on a powerful salute. 1, 2, 3.
Salute.